Hey there, friends. Good afternoon, or morning, or evening, or day, wherever you are. Before we get into the stories today, and if you don't want to hear me talk, you can just go down to the timestamps down below and click the timestamp for the first story. This may take just a moment, but if you would listen, I'd appreciate it. Very, very good personal friend of mine, Miss Creepy Tales, is currently in need of a little bit of money to assist with moving. She is changing jobs, which requires her to move closer to her new job, and she also has some other unexpected costs that come with living in Thailand and having to file the paperwork with the government because she's not from Thailand. So unfortunately, she's at a point where she does need a little bit of help, if possible, to get things rolling. She's trying to better her life, and I always support people trying to better their lives, especially friends, of course. So, if you can, this is not expected of you at all, if you can and want to, please consider sending a couple dollars to MCT. Miss Creepy Tales, again, she's a great person, very sweet person, very, very, very good friend. She's using the Coffee page to do the financing for this. Coffee is a repeatable website. It's one that I've used. I used it to sell my signed copies of my book, which there will be more of those in the future if any of you are wondering. But Coffee is a good page. I know she'll get the money quickly. They'll get it to her without issue. And I trust her on this. I know the situation she's going through is legit. This is not a sketchy situation where she's just asking for money to try to get rich. She's only asking for a couple $100, really. So, yeah, if you can, please do consider helping her out. And if you listen to this, thank you. You are amazing. But again, it's never expected. Just consider it if you can, like I said. Link is down below. It's also on the screen right now. It's ko-fi.com/misscreepytales, MISSCREEPYTALES. Again, it's on the screen in the description down below. But with that said, let's get on to the stories. I honestly wasn't sure where I should put this story, the paranormal or the glitch in the Matrix, but I've decided on the latter. Because with things like ghosts and spirits, especially if it's loved ones, I feel that they still kind of adhere to the physical plane's rule to an extent. And that's not the case here. The year was 2012, so I was 17 at the time. And while some people were anticipating the end of the world in December, I remember that, my world ended in March when my grandmother passed away. It came out of nowhere for everyone. She went to take a nap and never woke up again. It's needless to say that everyone in the family was devastated, me included. I cried myself to sleep that same night and wound up having a dream about her that gave me some closure of sorts. That's a story for the paranormal side of things, so maybe I'll write that at a later date. Let's fast forward to May of the same year. I, along with my mom and sister, were living with my great-grandmother, the mother of my grandmother. The house she lived in was old, I think. I'm not 100% sure how long she lived there, but I can say that she lived there for about half of her life, until she died at the age of 83 in 2013, 1 year after the death of her only daughter. The house was small, but cozy. Its side yard was even smaller, yet just as comforting, despite how dangerous the neighborhood had gotten over the years. I sometimes like to step outside for a bit to take in the fresh air. Decorating the area was a swinging bench, some lawn decor, and many pots and pans containing plants. One being a large clay pot containing small flowers of varying colors. And the reason for me writing this story. I will say that I wasn't sure what kind of flowers they were, just that they were small and came in yellow, white, red, and purple. I want to say that they were petunias, and why this is important to tell is because of what happened on Mother's Day. It was the first Mother's Day without my grandmother, but we still planned to make it a happy one. We're firm believers in ghosts and the paranormal, so we've collectively felt that my grandmother was still with us, and would still want us to enjoy the day. So, as I've done a couple times before, I stepped out to the side yard for a bit of fresh air, just looking around, until my eyes landed on the pot of petunias. Only most of the petunias were gone, and were replaced by tall stalks of calla lilies. I stood still and stared at the pot in bewilderment, thinking, wait, those lilies weren't there yesterday, were they? In all my 17 years of visiting my great-grandmother, I've never once seen calla lilies among her plants. I went back inside to tell my mother and sister, and they were also perplexed, as they remembered the pot being filled with petunias the day before. I don't think there was even a hint of a lily growing. While I am a believer in the fantastic side of things, I try to remain a skeptic, and think of more logical explanations first. I thought about crossbreeding and that the petunia flowers just changed into lilies, but that made zero sense for many reasons, such as the fact that petunias and lilies are from different families of flowers altogether, and such method of crossbreeding would be incredibly difficult. My second thought was that a seed or bulb was planted without us knowing, and while that could have been possible, there was one crucial reason why I didn't think this was the case either. The lilies disappeared the next day, and never grew again. At the time, we all believed that the lilies were a gift from my late grandmother, and while a part of me still thinks this now, after hearing so many Glitch in the Matrix stories, I can't help but feel that these lilies were perhaps from a different timeline. Maybe one where lilies instead of petunias were planted. Or maybe my grandmother planted them in a parallel universe as a gift for her mother. Who knows? I'm still wondering to this day. I'm even looking at the pictures we took of the pot now. The thing that gets me is that there were zero hints of the lilies growing there. I looked it up to see how long it would take for a lily to grow and bloom, and it's just not possible. It was like it popped into existence overnight before disappearing the next night. The pot, once again, contains petunias without a single sign of the lily's presence. Hi, Raven. I hope you and Patience are doing well and your move is going smoothly. Thank you. I want to thank you for giving us this platform to tell our stories. No matter the subject of the stories you tell, your voice and narration calm my mind and allow me to get to sleep faster than I have ever been able to before. Well, thank you for that as well. That's always the intent. I'm not sure if this would qualify as a Mandela effect or a paranormal category, so I'll let you decide where to put it. I grew up in the smallest town in the United States. Probably. Our school was K through 12 and had less than 500 students. Everyone knew everyone in their families, their dogs, cats, vehicles, homes, histories, and habits. A few years after I graduated, I heard through the grapevine that a schoolmate had passed away. He was one of a pair of brothers. We'll call him Matt, and his older brother Carl. At the time, I was working 2 jobs and couldn't get off work to go to his wake. About 2 months later, I was grocery shopping, and I saw Matt in the store. I was dumbfounded, but then assumed that I had just heard the wrong brother had passed. After all, small-town grapevines are not always reliable. Not sure of what to say to him, I didn't mention the passing. Another couple of friends joined the conversation, and the 4 of us blocked the aisle for about 10 minutes, talking about day-to-day, what you've been up to kind of rhetoric. Still in bewilderment, I looked at the faces of our other friends to see if they were just as confused as I was. They showed no sign of confusion, so I went ahead with the assumption that I had just been misinformed. When the conversation was over, we hugged each other's necks and went on our merry ways. About 3 weeks later, I was talking with my best friend. She mentioned that Matt and Carl's mother was having trouble with Carl's behavior since his brother had passed. I was stunned, and for a few moments could not say anything. I finally asked her if she was confused because I thought Carl was the one who had passed. She corrected me saying, "How could you get them confused? They look nothing alike." I told her about the conversation I'd had with Matt and our other friends at the store. She said that the 3 of us were talking to a ghost because Matt was no longer with us. Refusing to believe that I've lost my mind, I contacted the 2 other friends that had joined my and Matt's conversation. They confirmed that we had indeed had the conversation with Matt in the grocery store. They had also just assumed that they had been misinformed that day. Not knowing how to process what we had experienced, the three of us just agreed to not mention it again and went about our lives. I love listening to your Glitch in the Matrix stories, Raven. Thank you for doing the work you do. I have 2 stories here that are not very significant, but here I go. When I was young, I was playing tennis at home with my sister. Not with an actual racket and ball. It was a much smaller version designed for kids with plastic rackets and a small red plastic ball. I specifically remember the ball because that type of ball would get crushed very easily if you compressed them with little force. So when we were playing, she accidentally hit the red ball too hard, and I saw it land in the corner of the dining room. The dining and living room didn't have a divide. The dining table was also placed there so that the corner of the room was very dark. I went to search there, but I couldn't find it. I took my mom's phone for the flashlight to search for it, still not visible. I put my hand in every dusty nook and cranny of that corner. I couldn't find it. I had my dad search for it. Couldn't find it. I searched places other than that corner and still couldn't find it. Fast forward to 3 years when my parents are cleaning the apartment, and they move furniture to clean the, quote, uncleaned spots. They moved the dining table too in the process. And guess what? The red ball was still there in that corner, identical to what it looked like before. No bumps, no scratches, just a little bit of accumulated dust, like it had been sitting there all this time. I told nobody about this. I continued to play with the ball by myself until I lost interest and threw it away, but I do wonder what happened. The next story is kind of sad. We had a computer period in 4th grade. I came back to the classroom for my computer lab when it was over. In my hand, I had my computer textbook, computer notebook, and a blue pencil box with me. It was thin and made out of plastic and had colored pencils, a few pencils, an eraser and a sharpener, and a 15-centimeter ruler. I remember placing these 3 objects on my desk. Then I turned around to talk to my friend, and then I saw my blue pencil box wasn't there. I panicked and searched my bag thoroughly. Nothing. Searched underneath my desk, places around me, asked my friends, nothing. I spent a good 5 minutes searching for the same places that I didn't find it. The next period had already started, so I decided to not make a mess further and to settle down. I had to go the rest of the day with the borrowed pencil and an eraser from one of my friends. I got home and didn't tell my parents about it. They're not the best parents, to be honest. I don't want to go into detail, but just know that I've decided to start therapy when I'm financially stable. Anyway, for the rest of the academic year, I spent my classes with 1 pencil and 1 eraser only, never letting anyone know about my pencil box except for a few of my classmates, of course. Academic year ends, I do some tidying of my room and my belongings. My belongings include my school bag. To my surprise, I found my pencil box in there. That same blue plastic box with everything in there the way that I left it. I have no clue how it got there. I had a pure mixture of rage, confusion, relief, betrayal, sadness, and happiness, all at the age of 10. So what happened? Who did this to me? Was it my own horrible memory? Was it my friend playing this absolutely nasty prank on me? Guardian Angel or Glitch in the Matrix? Well, you decide. It had been a hectic week, and my allergies were killing me. I had made an appointment to see an acupuncturist who thought she could help me. I was working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, so I couldn't afford to have another sinus infection. The appointment was before my scheduled workday, but I was running late. I piled into my car along with my lunch and only half my makeup on and sped toward my destination. The street that I was driving on had 2 lanes going east and 2 going west. I was traveling east. I was headed for the bridge over the interstate, pressing the gas pedal, and my luck, at about 50 miles per hour in a 30 mile per hour zone. I noticed a late model large shiny black truck in the lane next to mine ahead, which was stopped as if to make a left turn, but there was no intersecting street, so I assumed he was about to make a U-turn when oncoming cars had passed. Suddenly, a white compact car pulled out of the side street opposite where the truck had stopped. I was seconds away from impact, as now the intersection was completely blocked in both eastbound lanes. What to do? The best thing I could do, as there was no chance to stop fast enough, was to aim for the narrow strip between the two vehicles, which might only strip my doors off and spin the white car around. As I approached the intersection, I must have blacked out or closed my eyes. When I opened them a second later, there was no crash and no vehicles around. I slowed the car and looked through the rearview mirror, but the black truck was nowhere to be seen, nor was the white car. This wasn't the first time that I've had a glitch in the Matrix. In fact, this person actually sent in 2 around the same time, so I'm going to put their second one right here. My husband and I were having a leisurely dinner at our favorite Korean restaurant. The place was empty except for 3 tables that had been assembled for a large group of people. The restaurant had heavy marble tables for guests, which were adjacent to the booth we were snugged into. Usually, Tom liked to sit at a table because of his size, but these tables were movable, so he just moved it closer to me so I could sit in the booth, which I favored. We had just finished eating and we were still in deep conversation when I decided to visit the powder room. So, as not to interrupt, I signaled by standing up from my seat. I was still in the booth, thinking I could edge out sideways. I realized because I was standing on the table's pedestal, and the area was too confined, that I ought to back out, as I couldn't progress going sideways. Tom was still talking, oblivious to my predicament. I thought about sitting down so I could slide out properly, but now I was stuck wedged with my back facing the room. "Oh well, just back on out," I said. So, tentatively, I put one foot that I was able to move behind me, feeling for the floor. I knew I was standing on the table's pedestal, so the floor would be lower. I bent my stationary leg as far as I could, searching for the floor. I'm only now half listening to Tom. There was still nothing there. I thought about all those heavy marble tables with the sharp corners. I knew that one was catty-corner to where I was standing, trapped. I should have said something to Tom, but I thought I was just being silly. The floor had to be there, right? I reached backward again with my foot now unable to change positions, except for the one foot. I still only encountered empty space. The pedestal was only an inch high. I should have encountered a floor. Well, I thought just go for it, you'll be fine. You know, the floor is definitely there. I stepped back, and there was nothing but empty space. Don't look back, don't turn your head. If you do, you'll pierce your temple on the corner of the marble table. My mind was racing. My life was literally rerunning in my mind. I closed my eyes and prepared to meet my maker. Sure enough, while the floor had seemingly disappeared, the table was quite solid. I came crashing down with the back of my skull hitting the corner of the table as I knew it would. Immediately, everyone sitting at the long table came over to minister to me. They were doctors and nurses who had come there to eat together. They ascertained there was no concussion, but since I was bleeding profusely, that Tom should take me to the hospital rather than calling an ambulance. It took 12 stitches to close the wound. We revisited the restaurant a few days later, because I just had to see why I hadn't had a floor underneath me. The owners were very unhappy and afraid that we were going to sue them. I assured them we weren't, and that I was just curious how the floor seemed to have disappeared. This is my second glitch that happened on my own initiative, and the first one exactly the way I wanted it to happen. So, I was cleaning a building that day, and I would look at the house numbers of those buildings. those entrances many times because I've been obsessed with numbers and numerology since I was a child. The number of those buildings, as I remember them, were 5 and 7. I wasn't sure about the number 5, and it's not that important, but I definitely remembered the number 7 from the second entrance, because I thought several times how cool it would be if it were 17 instead of 7, because that's my date of birth. I didn't look at those numbers once. I looked at them many times, and I would always think how it would be if one day I came and saw 17 instead of 7. And that was at a time when glitches were already happening to me for a while, and then I thought, I want 7 to turn into 17, and that's it. It wasn't something I just wanted to happen. It was something I decided would happen, because I know how the universe, reality, or whatever you want to call it works. This is not something that's unknown to me or some science fiction, because throughout my life, I simply manifest what I want, because I've always just felt that it works that way. In order for something to manifest, there has to be no doubt but a pure decision. And that was it. I simply sat down that day, decided that it would happen, that 7 would turn into 17 one day when I arrived. I simply enjoy such things because they always work for me, and it's like a kind of game. And it's one of the reasons why I've never been bored in my life. So I came to clean that building once a week. After my thrown magic, I would look at the number on the building almost every week, and the number was the same, 7. I didn't bother about it or think about it, whether it would happen. I just waited for it to happen. But let's be clear, what happened this time has never happened to me before, and I have never tried to influence something like that. But as glitches started happening to me, and after I realized they happen to many people after they become interested in them, I decided that now I will make a glitch. I will do something different, because I like to try such things and see if they will happen. But despite the fact that I decided that it would happen, it's not that I really expected it to happen. I didn't even think about whether or not it would, just looked at the numbers when I was there. One day after about 3 months, I come in, look at the number on the building, and it is now 17. What is fascinating to me now is that I was not surprised at all. But this time, not in the sense that I expected it, but in the sense that, okay, it happened because it happens. At that time, I was totally preoccupied with other things and thoughts, and what surprised me more was my lethargic reaction when I saw that this actually happened. I was neither shocked nor surprised. I looked at the number, saw 17, said to myself, wow, it happened, and went on cleaning the building as if nothing had happened. On the one hand, I couldn't believe that exactly what I wanted to happen had happened. And on the other hand, I was preoccupied with other thoughts and didn't think about it at all for 3 days. After 3 days, one afternoon, when I was getting ready to go out, I sat down and said to myself, wait, that really happened? Is it really now that there's a 17 instead of a 7? After 3 days it hit me, and I couldn't believe that it had happened. I couldn't wait to get there again to see for myself, because when something like this happens, even if you believe in such a thing or they happen to you, you are still surprised no matter what. And of course, the next time I went in, it was 17. Even when you believe in something like that and something like this happens to you, you end up asking yourself again, is it possible? Because it's so unbelievable. Now, after seeing 17 there, I naturally assumed that the number on the second entrance must have changed as well. And of course, it was number 19 now. I wasn't sure what the number of the second entrance was, whether it was 5 or 9, but I remembered 5. It was more and more fascinating to me what I was able to do, but at the same time I wondered, did it really happen? And now, of course, I started to be more and more fascinated, because it's so mind-blowing. I decided to ask my mom how she remembers the numbers on the entrance, and I told her everything because she knows a lot of my paranormal and all kinds of other stories. I was really curious how she remembered what the number was. My mom says immediately, it was always 17. But those who know what I'm talking about know that this does not mean that I remember wrongly, and that the number has always been 17, but that it is about shifting reality. In this reality, the number was always 17. It's true, but in the one where I looked at the number every day for months and came there for 2 years, it was 7. No one can have such a weak memory or be so delusional or crazy to think after everything that I imagined it. Because it's not about one glance at the number, but about months of looking at that number. And that's why people should believe more in themselves, because only you really know what happened. There are people who will believe you, and people who will think you're crazy. But that doesn't matter. If you know and feel that something strange happened, then it happened. Accept it and try to explain it to yourself. Because only the truth is important and liberating. Just to mention this, and how I also realized that the number was definitely 7, was when I went there one day and saw that the house number of the house before was 15. So before, the number of that house was 5, and the buildings were 7 and 9. But it's possible that the order went the other way around and that I remembered, 5 and 7. And maybe the number of the house was 9. Who knows? Anything's possible. And I really do think we should believe in that. This story is my first glitch. Since we had moved here, it had been great. I hadn't experienced anything weird until this glitch happened. When this happened, I wasn't aware of the glitch in the Matrix phenomenon. I was home alone. I believe there were no classes that day. My mom was working, my sister was staying with my dad, and my grandma back in Manila. They had to stay there because my dad's work was closer there compared to if he was going to commute all the way from our house. My parents are still together though, just made some adjustments for transportation. Anyway, my mom messaged me that she couldn't find her glasses in her bag, and so she wanted me to look for them at home. And she needs them to use her phone, read, cook, etc. So I started looking for her glasses as soon as I read the message. Figured if I started looking for them, I might have time to do other stuff afterwards. I looked for them everywhere. Upstairs, downstairs, kitchen, my room, their room, living room, dining room table. I did that 3 times. Our house is small, but that's still pretty exhausting. I couldn't believe that I could not find her glasses in this small house. I told myself that I was going to look for them upstairs again, but I really needed to use the bathroom first. I entered the bathroom, did my thing, and as I opened the door, there they were. My mom's glasses, sitting perfectly on the bathroom rug. Temples folded, sitting nicely just in the center of the rug. I was like, holy hell, that wasn't there when I went inside. And they weren't. I could have stepped on them and broke them if... I could have stepped on them and broke them. And if they were that noticeable coming out of the bathroom, then it should have been more noticeable going in. I've been playing Call of Duty since I was 5, 21 now, and it's been my favorite game since then. My favorite of all these games has been Black Ops 2, and is by far my most played. As anyone who played them knows, they went downhill afterwards. This all actually started from watching a YouTube video about Mandela effects, one of which was Black Ops 2. The Mandela effect is a giant yellow billboard-sized sign in the middle of the map, right by a spawn point. It's so out of place visually from what I remember, but on top of it, it actually affects gameplay. After almost a decade, I hopped back on to check for myself, and there were 3 things that I noticed. First, and most importantly, it blocks off an entire sightline that I remember from a window directly in front of the sign to behind where the sign now is to a tractor and a house behind it. I remember so many times getting into sniper fights in this exact area, and now you can't even see the window. Second, there's a perfect spot to throw grenades under the sign to hit people. And now, while still possible, there is a chance of hitting the sign that I never remember happening. Third, there was a glitch spot that you could do before a patch that let you get onto a fence wall next to the sign. Now, with the sign there, the jump would have been completely impossible before they patched it, and before you say the sign was a patch, you can go back and look at any gameplay. The sign was always there. All 3 points that I've made, I have seen other people making as well, so it's not just my memory. The most damning piece of evidence to me is that pros like Scump and Nadeshot, who were some of the best at the time, also don't remember the sign. These are people who spent thousands of hours on these maps, and the line of sight changes are not small. They would have definitely remembered. I wouldn't trust my memory with my life, as I was only 12 at the time, but theirs, I would. This has been really freaking me out, and my girlfriend just keeps telling me to stop thinking about it, but I can't. Every time I look at it, it sticks out like a sore thumb, and all I can see is the tractor behind it. And I think this is a great example of the Mandela effect, because of how much the pros played the game. So, that, my friends, was a collection of some Glitch in the Matrix stories, which is a collection of stories that I do every single week, typically on Mondays. You all know what they're about at this point. At least I hope you do. If this is your first time hearing a video on this channel, welcome. Hello. Happy to have you here. If this isn't your first time, you probably know that I do glitch stories every week on Monday, typically. And yeah, good stories. Always weird stuff. This week, several people were pushing their stories to be potentially paranormal as well. So that's interesting. That a lot of people were just basically saying it's either glitch or paranormal, so at least more than one did, I think. Unless I've lost my mind and forgotten everything I've read, which is also possible. Teehee. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the stories. If you did, please do hit that like button. If you're new to the channel and liked what you heard, please consider subscribing, as that helps a lot. You can also listen to the podcast on other platforms, such as Audible, Spotify, Apple, any of those platforms that you get your podcast fixed on. You can also do a super thanks, which is a tip to the channel. Just a couple bucks a month helps support the channel tremendously. Or you can do a membership, join memberships, or join Patreon to get early access to content like this and other content depending on what you sign up for. That's as little as $1 a month. There are higher tiers for other things. Yeah. Of course, none of this is ever expected, but it is appreciated because all the support I can get helps a lot. That's a weird way to put that. Listening to the videos is more than enough support, or watching the videos, that's what I meant to say, is more than enough support. I want to make that very clear. So, yeah. The other thing you do is send in your stories to astheravendreams.com if you have them. This outro feels a little bit disjointed today, doesn't it? I'm all over the place. Like I mentioned in the intro, if you can... Actually, you know what? Scratch what I said earlier about the super thanks to me. If you can and want to give money to somebody, please do consider supporting Miss Creepy Tales at the coffee link in the beginning. She is in need of the money to help move so she can change jobs. She's bettering her life, and that's what's important, and I fully support her. So if you can, please consider it, but don't ever feel like you have to. Or like it's expected of you, because it's never expected. There's no obligation to ever doing this kind of stuff. It's just, I like to help lift people up and help where I can. So, I know a lot of people that like to help as well, and yeah, just is what it is. I think it's everything. Minus the word of the week, which we're going to get to now. So, what the word of the week is, every Monday or whenever I do a glitch video, I give you a word, you all take said word, put it in the comments down below the video. You help boost the video in the algorithm, and from there, we get more views and more growth, and everything goes well, and I get to do more glitch videos, and yeah, and you all get shoutouts at the end of the video. The video? What am I saying? The end of the video, such as right now and several moments prior to now on the screen, there is a collection of all of the screenshots of people who sent their word in for the word of the week last week. Their sentence into the comments. All these people went above and beyond, and I want to say a huge thank you to each and every single one of them. You all are amazing. You help push the videos harder. Thank you so very much. Of course, again, there is no obligation, so don't ever feel like you're not doing something right if you don't do it, because it's totally fine. Then all these people again left last week's word of the week. This week, we're going to go to a new word of the week like we always do. What am I saying? I am just all over the place today, and I don't know what's wrong with me. Brain fog. It's just like, bleh. This week, the word of the week is ameliorate. Ameliorate. It means to make better or more tolerable or to grow better. That's what it means. So use the word ameliorate in a comment down below. Get featured next week on the Glitch video. You know what to do. That's how you do it. All that said, friends, hope you have a great week. Hope I see you again here very soon. But until then, remember you are loved, valid, and important. You are the best you that you can be. Don't forget it. Till next time, my friends, much love and sleep well.